Welcome to Forever Exile, the Path of Exile podcast. I'm Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Episode 137th episode of this podcast. It just keeps going up by one.
It does.
Yep.
It's good counting.
Yeah, we've gotten pretty good at it.
Yeah. Well, we've even double checked a couple times just to be sure.
Have we? Okay, good for us. Mostly you.
Actually, I went to go double check and you're like, no, Ty, no, it is. I just checked. So, and I should have known that it was you.
That was bullshit.
That was double checking. Yeah. So, we thought we double checked a couple times. This is probably episode like 111.
Big shout out to Patrons. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Thomas for joining the podcast, the Patreon group this week. Thank you very much. And everybody else who supports the podcast. Your faces are awesome. If you're curious what Patreon is, it gets you access to After Dark, which is our podcast after this podcast, where we just talk more stuff, things, life, Ty's boobs. Lawns.
They were bouncing, man. I'm sorry I was late today. Like Justin's been very patient. I've had an extremely busy week, and the normal type of notes that I like to do couldn't get done. But I had 2 weeks that I wanted to, like there were snippets from the last 2 weeks, because last week we just went, Sentinel, and then went into it and had a great time. And so I had a little bit extra that I wanted to do, but I couldn't even do the normal bits throughout the week. And so I was running, and man, as I was going up and down those stairs today, bongy,
you got nothing there, bud. There's nothing to you.
I'd rather.
I feel like you're what, 100 and maybe 40, 145 pounds. 100.
Really?
You're little.
No, I've been 170 for the longest time last decade. Everywhere from like 168 to 174. In your butt. That's right. I'm just flexing all the time. I have this awkward walk.
Yeah.
So nobody
can
noticed.
Tell. That's right. You look like you're always about to poop. Anyway. Yeah. Big shout out to patrons. We love you. Thanks for supporting us. And let's get into it. How was your week, Ty? I mean, you just told us it was busy, but
yeah, no, it was busy. The upstairs is almost completely done with the leak that we had with our dishwasher. So we were sleeping in the living room. Our beds are in the living room for the last week. And I mean, the kids absolutely love that stuff. But now things have been kind of last couple of days were the reorganizing days, I guess you could say, where they put things back. And but it was a lot busier for me. Like normally that would be quite relaxing. I could just be out of their hair. But we had a lot of our downstairs. Remember when we flooded in November, all of our downstairs was upstairs. But we didn't put after the floods were done, we didn't put all our downstairs stuff, or all of our stuff that was upstairs that belonged downstairs. We didn't put it back downstairs because our perimeter drain wasn't finished. And we weren't sure if there was another heavy rain, like if we would leak again, because there were a few very minor rains where we did have water coming into the basement again. So we had to keep our downstairs upstairs until the perimeter drain was done. And just as the perimeter drain finished was when all this leak stuff happened. And then we needed all that space, empty space that was downstairs that was now for sure not going to get wet. We needed that space for where the restoration company was going to move all the stuff from upstairs. So when they were packing everything upstairs and putting them into boxes, and they're meticulous, they're like, hey, this goes here, this goes here. Well, we had junk everywhere because there was nowhere to put anything. And so they're putting like our filing cabinet back where it was temporarily, which was like in the linen closet or something with the towels, because there was nowhere else for it to go. But, so it goes there. I'm like, oh, no, actually that goes downstairs and down. So it was a lot of, unfortunately for them, but micromanagement trying to get it done. And it was a lot of fun. It was good to actually get our upstairs is uncluttered for the first time since before Christmas.
That's nice.
It is. Like when we opened Christmas gifts in December, because all of our downstairs was upstairs, there was nowhere to put anything. We had nowhere to store stuff. All of our usual spots for things were just chaotic. So the kids' Christmas gifts have been in front of the mantle since December. That was just their place. And so this is the first time since November that we've actually had a normal upstairs.
Nice.
So yeah, and that just happened like 2 days ago. So my wife and I were like sitting down on Wednesday nights when we hang out. We're getting ready to watch some Peaky Blinders, and no spoiling stuff. We're only in season 2, okay? And we watched like molasses. It is. He's the best, man.
He's know, right? So good.
Oh, Cillian. And so anyway, we're getting ready to sit down. We just kind of sit down in our
do you watch it with subtitles?
I think so. I watch everything with subtitles because for the longest time I can't. Like everybody in the world mumbles to me, and I'm like, what? Huh? Speak up.
Do you know who Tom Hardy is? The actor Tom Hardy?
Yes, I do.
Is he in Peaky Blinders yet?
No.
Okay. Well, that's not a spoiler, but when his character is, you're gonna want subtitles.
Oh,
that's why I
was just introduced to him in season 2, episode 2. He's hilarious.
Awesome.
But anyway, so anyway, we sat down to watch some Peaky Blinders, and we just had all this space, and we kind of look at each other kind of weird, like it's been like 6 months.
There's so many room for activities.
This is nice. Yeah, and so we just watched. Funny enough, we watch Peaky Blinders on our laptop because the kids are still awake when we want to watch, and we can't have that surround sound booming through the house with the stuff that goes on in that show. So anyway, it was a good week. It was awesome. Today's another. Oh, that's awesome. It says another porn day.
Oh, cool.
But it's,
what are those?
No. Well, let me tell you.
Let me tell you about my Friday.
It's a typical Friday in the Tyler household. No, I meant to say type in Pro D Day. Today, our kids are home from
the
school
same at all.
again. No,
the
complete opposite.
Very different. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. No, babysitting day is porn day. No, this is Pro D Day. But also with all this like stuff, and I know this is lasting forever, but this has been like I've been waiting 6 months for the last couple days. So this is exciting to me. So thank you everyone for your patience. But you remember how I had barriers? I put up a faux fence outside. Chris helped me set up some stakes, and then we had there were ribbons. They're fine.
People don't pay attention to ribbons. It's annoying.
They do, and the dogs do. Everybody gets it except for the stupid abatement team that was walking all over this please don't walk on the grass stuff. But anyway, the hydro seed grew in so nicely that I actually mowed the lawn this week, Justin.
You can mow it already?
On the front, I could, yeah. Because you can't let it get too long. Like it was seriously longer than my hand.
Yeah.
All throughout the front, which was nice. The backyard's not the same because it doesn't get the same kind of sun. Big trees in the back. But hey, so I'm fighting weeds again, man. Who's ever been excited to fight weeds? It's pretty sweet. So, yeah, no, that was good.
Fun.
Yeah, it's been a great week. How about you?
I did my first mow with the real mower this week, which was fun.
Oh, you have pretend mowers?
No, it's the ones that don't have a motor. Right, like that you just push and the blades spin.
Those are real.
That's called a real. It's REEL. So it's not like.
Oh, I thought you were being derogatory to normal people.
No. A real mower. Sorry, I'm not.
No. Yeah, so I used my totally not a mower that you would ever use, Tyler kind of mower.
Yeah, it was. So that was really nice. It was fun to do a bit of work, but it's because my guy came and did some weed spraying, and so I also had him do some seed in some of the areas that were a little lacking. So I didn't want to use an actual motor mower because they suck up the grass when it cuts. So yeah, so that was fun. A lot of work, but it's starting to look good. It's green at least. Our weather's been awesome. I mean, it's been wet a bit this week, but I love sun and cool. Like if I could keep it around 14, 15 degrees outside, but the sun out, really? That's perfect for me. Yeah.
I'm a 16 to 19 kind of guy. I want it to be sunny, but I want to be comfortable in a long sleeve shirt.
No. No.
You didn't get him to oversee the whole lawn, just the splotches?
No, I just wanted to fill in. It's actually pretty good in most of the areas. It's just some areas that I wanted to. I was hoping that the bunnies were dead, but they're not. So that's a little bit annoying.
No, everybody feeds them. We have members from our Discord community that fly out and feed the bunnies.
These stupid freaking rats.
We should. Then you know what? If we ever get together with people from the show, we should just give out your address and we'll have a block party.
With carrots and apples.
That's exactly it. That's right.
I had the guy do the seeding. I found a freaking quarter of an apple on my lawn, and I'm like, what the. And I went inside, and my kid and Christina had put an apple out, and I was like, go get that damn apple and put it somewhere else because it's going to eat my damn seeds that are on the lawn. I hate those things, man. And I swear to God, they made a baby. I'm pretty sure there's 3 of them now.
They like to do that.
I don't like it. I wish they would just piss off and go to somebody else's area. I have these like things that I bought. I haven't put them out yet to deal with raccoons, like in the backyard, just to keep them out. And it does a high pitched. Oh God, I wish it does a high pitched noise every like 45 seconds or something. Like you don't typically hear it yourself, but my neighbor has them too. And I'm curious if that would stop the bunnies too.
Well,
I wonder if that
it
would
says
make them-
raccoons on the labels and not bunnies,
Well, it's not just specific. It's like
it's kind of like
rodents. It's like large rodents, and that's a rabbit to me.
if it doesn't say minion, it's not going to help your minion damage.
Well, I
Justin.
think it just
if it
affects
doesn't
nearby.
say bunny.
So I'm hoping that
Well, that's pretty general.
I'm hoping
though.
it's
I don't
within the
know.
range. Yeah,
That's probably why your neighbors doesn't work for your bunnies. It's not
I think
the proper
theirs
nearby.
pushes it to me across the street, and that's why I get the rabbits.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So now they're just going to like you're going to have two
it's like
radio
a tower
waves
defense
like
on my
smashing-
street. I got to figure out where to position them to just push them away from me. That's
Well, what if they
that's
get
the
caught
goal.
in the middle? They'll just like
They
explode.
get run over by a car. That's perfect.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. That I'm fine with. So anyway,
when you have the roadkill in front of your house, take your kids out there. That's what happens when you feed bunnies.
that's exactly what I'll do. Just like with the guy with his arm getting torn off in Arrested Development. And that's why you don't play with bunnies. So anyway, my week was good. It was busy. I had lots and lots of meetings this week, which is that part's really boring, but I did a lot of traveling again, which was a lot of fun. I had a 5.5 hour meeting on Tuesday. It was awful.
5.5?
But-
and you only thought of messaging me at the end,
Yes.
eh?
At the last hour, I
poor
played chess
guy.
with Ty, which was so fun. And God, I wish I had thought of that earlier because that was the best part of the meeting. I have no clue what we were talking about towards the end. There were a couple times where I was asked a question and I was like, okay, so here's what we're doing.
Rook to
Yeah, I was like, how do I not
A3.
lose this? But so that was good. And then we did my daughter's kindergarten introduction, which was amazing because
Right.
I
I saw
cannot
you walk
wait
in.
for September so that all my kids are finally in school. And
That'll be your first time kid free in the house for work in
yeah.
20
My the thing is though too, my kids have always been in daycare, right? So it's not like I can't stay at home with my kids, so they're always somewhere anyway. But this will be
But
the
now you
first
can
time they're
save the
all
money.
like actually in school. That's right. I want to pay for that, which is nice. But yeah, she had a blast. They talk about the whole dumb 2-week like introduction to school, which I can't stand. They talk about the importance of it. My daughter was like, bye. We got into the rooms and she didn't care. She was off. She was upset when we were leaving. So she'll be just fine when it starts. But
When her birthday's in what month?
August.
Oh, so she's starting.
Yeah, August.
Good guess. So she's going to be in the same kind of state as your other daughter, where she's kind of
My
like
other
a
daughter's
grade
December.
ahead per se. Right.
Yeah,
But
so
like
she's like right
her
at
and
the end.
Oliver, her and my kid Oliver, they're only a month apart, but your
Right.
kid's a grade older because she was born in the year she starts school, not the year she ends.
This will be
that
my
year.
only kid who will actually be 5 when they start kindergarten. All my other kids were 4 when they started kindergarten because they were born after September.
So you're just a busy guy.
There's
in the
apparently
winter.
a certain month where I tend to be busy. Apparently.
It's one of my favorite things when you see a family and like all their birthdays are in like one part of the year. You're kind of like, all right, well,
Huh.
what special event
That's
is 9.5 months earlier?
That's right. So, and then we've been watching The Punisher. I've seen them the first 2 seasons, the Marvel version, the series. They came out a long time
the
ago.
Netflix ones.
Yep.
From,
My wife hadn't seen them though, so we've been watching those. They're so good.
Cool.
And
I never got into them because they were technically not canon before, but now
the hell does that mean?
Marvel canon meaning like they weren't part of Marvel's storyline, like
You
what
wouldn't watch
Disney
them if
was
they
doing.
weren't part of that.
It was just so much to watch. Like there was just so many other shows going on. So to add that as kind of like my required watching for
Totally.
part of the MCU, it was just so much. But now they're actually incorporating it all.
Anyway, I like the Punisher just because he's crazy, and I always like to think that I would do the same thing, which I know I clearly would not, but I'd be like, bah, bah, bah. Yeah, here's a knife, here's a gun, I could do these things. So
Yeah.
they're fun to watch. And he's so angry, and I enjoy that. So yeah, anyway, we're in the halfway through season 2, and then the rest of my week was work.
Nice.
I played lots of PoE through the week, but it was a really busy week. It was a really good week. We had a lot of great stuff happening with work, and yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
That's good.
Let's get into PoE stuff, hey?
Yeah.
How was your how we doing this? Are we doing this week in PoE first? We talking about our weeks
You know
in PoE? What do you want
It
to
doesn't
do?
matter. There's a lot of stuff that I want to bring up from the past couple weeks, but I'm excited to talk about how we were playing. So I don't care if we go in order or not. You just sit. You just
how far
talk.
back are you going? How about you
So,
hit them real quick? What do
Remember
you
in
got?
3.0 when
Oh, God.
no, you how about this? You
Well,
just
how
talk
about-
and I'll fill it in. We'll do it the
problem is
opposite. You like filling in me. I'll fill in you.
Okay, we got back into the porno
Yeah,
version
that's right.
of a
If
day.
you know what I mean.
The only reason I ask is because it gets like, I feel like they're kind of both intertwined. Like I have stuff to talk about for my week. So I had a great week playing. I had a lot of mixed reactions and things that happened. So, it's funny. I was thinking this week, it's one of the blessings and curses of having a podcast that we do once a week. And we're once a week. We are every single week, but that's it. We're not doing some mid-week show and whatever. So the curse of that is sometimes that we have an episode and then something happens the next day. So we talk about something and something then all of a sudden comes out and it's like, well, shit. And so I've just told myself that just makes us prophetic and it's fine. We're just,
and then the things that we want to get fixed, and life is great.
It was because of the behind the scenes conversations we had with GGG clearly.
That's right. Telling us
just listen.
Without telling anyone else what's going to happen. But hey, listen, this past episode we had, 136, I think that despite the fact that a lot of the times we have something and it sounds like we say it prematurely because we record on a Friday, then fixes happen throughout the weekend, then, like you said, but this past time, a lot of our conversation revolved around something that wasn't direct. Like, sure, like Arch Nemesis was released in a very interesting, no, not Arch Nemesis. What's this? Sentinel. It's going to get intertwined a lot. Sentinel was released in a very interesting state, but at the end of the day, a lot of what we had to say was about the behind the scenes mentality, the bigger picture of it all that impacted the decisions. So I think it was still relevant despite the fact that it was an early release.
Yep. So to me, that's just a little bit of the curse of how we do it once a week. We're not a Twitch streaming thing, so we don't talk about it every day. But it's also a blessing because sometimes something comes up and it did this week, where something comes up and I go, what is wrong with this company? Like, they can't actually think this way. This is just, it makes me very angry. And I am happy that I end up getting a week to chill, to think it over, to try to understand what they're doing. And in one of the particular cases, I still highly, highly disagree with them. But it's good for me because I get this is directly related to the release of and I'm sorry, I'm going to throw your stuff all over the place, but this is directly related to the release of the modifiers that they showed for Arch Nemesis. So there was, like, we started the week out, we're playing the game. For me, Act 1 and 2 were the hardest they've ever been. This was the worst leveling experience I've ever had in Path of Exile. And for people who sometimes give us a hard time and bitch and moan about, oh, you're casual or you're hardcore, I was in maps on the second day. I've almost entirely cleared the Atlas, so don't have some attitude about what you haven't played it enough.
I'm still campaigning.
Yeah, but
I'm in Act 8.
It was the worst leveling experience I'd ever had. That Friday was not fun. I did not enjoy it. I died way more than I've ever died in an act, and it just seemed like it was overtuned, which is kind of what we talked about in our thing. And then they've come out with multiple posts with some changes. And I'm sure we'll talk about those changes, but we've talked about this for a long time about clarity in the game, understanding what you're fighting, understanding what's happening. And they came out with the release of the Arch Nemesis modifiers and this list of 80. And everyone who's listened, I assume, has probably seen it. If you haven't seen it, you can go check it out. It's on their forums, on their announcements. But what made me angry was referencing back to the idea of Chris saying, players will figure it out, they'll start to understand it, and that the previous modifiers were just bags of stats, is what he claimed. That's what he called them. This was exactly that. This was, here's a modifier and here's its 6 lines of what it does, which is absolutely nonsense. Like, a player can't figure that out. You can't understand to the degree of some of these things what they are. And it just bugged me because I was like, why can't you just make it so that a modifier does 1 or 2 very obvious things? It does maybe increase fire damage and it does a firewall. It does increase cold damage and it puts you in this cone. Like, I don't understand why they have to go to these crazy details of all these different things that it can do to make the game harder and then expect you to just figure that out. So it was good for me to just sort of have the week to continue playing. And I still do. My opinion is still the same. I think it's nonsense that they have these. I love Arch Nemesis in the sense that it is visually, it's one of the best ways to see what modifiers are affecting an enemy. It is. I can see on them. Granted, it's not the easiest. I really wish there was something else that would show me like some sort of heads up display or something, because I have to mouse over them, which is a bit of a pain. But I can see.
At least you can.
Yeah, I can at least see Gargantuan and Frostweaver.
I can't.
And that to me is better than what it was before, but they've made it too hard, I still think, to know what all of these modifiers are supposed to do. And it's still not in game, which I find that a little bit annoying. But the more I've played this week, Sentinel is an amazingly fun mechanic. It is, the league is so much fun. Like we've talked about this when the last league came out and the new Atlas passive came out. It was a new way of playing the end game your way. And it's crazy to me that they've even been able to go a step further to be like, you can do even more now to build it how you want. Yeah. And Sentinel, man, it makes it hard. It makes some of the stuff really hard. Like when you get deep into red maps and you use a pandemonium on a huge group, like I really spec'd into shrines and strong boxes, and finding massive clumps of enemies and then using a pandemonium is terrifying. Like I have to okay, I literally plan out how I'm going to run. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to quickly flame dash away, and then I'm going to start fighting them. And I do really enjoy that. It's really fun for me to figure out a map. How do I want to juice it? And the rewards are insane. It's just very, very hard, which I'm fine with the end game. We talked about this last week. Make the end game hard. I'm all for that, especially if it's my fault. It's funny, when I did a couple, I was trying to do, because I've done all the end game bosses now. I've done the Eater of Worlds, the Syrian ones. I've done all of those guys. I've got my 2 first Void Stones. But I did realize that as I was going through those, some of them I just didn't have the balls to drop my Sentinels, because I knew it was going to make them very, very difficult, and I needed the completion on the map. And so I like that, though. That was my decision. I knew I could beat it if I didn't use them. And I knew that if I used them, I just risked, putting myself in a position of potentially losing a portal or two.
Yep.
Which I didn't want to do. I like that, though. I love that the end game has become a little bit more difficult. I just didn't like the fact that
it's your own individual game.
Right. And the campaign is not. I have to do it. So that was the thing that bothered me last week. We talked about it. I don't feel like it's changed too much. I know they reduced the amount of modifiers on mobs, and they've changed some stuff, but I do appreciate that they've been open about it. There were lots of posts this week, which I'm sure you've got too, from GGG about, the changes that they were making. Chris has been, I think people sometimes forget, Chris, I want to say there were 3 posts, and I want to say he had all 3 of those posts posted before the end of our weekend. I think so. I think the last one came out on Sunday. They don't have staff, and nor should they have a fully staffed office over the weekends. So there are going to be things that need to be changed. And we've talked about this literally every league. And I get that some people really hate that, but a league doesn't often come out perfect. There is often things that need to change. It's just unfortunate when some of those things you go, as a player, I feel like there could have been some hindsight to understand what past leagues have done, and maybe we shouldn't be going this route. But I also know that they can't tune things up after, you know what I mean? If they come into the league with them tuned down, they can't later go hey, we made this too easy, now we need to make it harder. So yeah, that was what I was thinking about, though, with regards to the blessing and the curse, was that it gave me a chance to actually play the end game, get through the campaign, get deep into maps, and start actually experiencing the Sentinel side of it. But my PoE week has been so much fun. Once I got into the end game, there's nothing more fun in this game right now than building the Atlas. Nothing. That is my favorite part of the game right now, is figuring out. And now that I can block stuff,
and you blocked a lot originally. Did you still stick to that?
Oh yeah, I rushed to metamorph. My Atlas tree went up, right, down, metamorph. I was like, F that. That is the worst mechanic with Sentinel. It's so bad.
One of the things later on when I get to patches is there's some 2 exclusions for, let me try and find it here. There are 2 exclusions for metamorph. The inherent maximum life bonuses from monster modifiers no longer apply to metamorphs. This is something that happened recently.
Later, okay, yeah.
And then the mirror image monster modifier, thank goodness, can no longer appear on metamorphs.
The first time I built a metamorph, I was like, oh, I'm screwed. I have to pick every piece of a body that has an arch nemesis modifier on it if I want the actual loot. I did the very first metamorph I did. I even tried to make it easy. The metamorph spawned and I disappeared. And I tried to be defensive. I don't even know what happened. And that's the one thing that's always annoying with Path of Exile. And again, we've talked about that to death. Sometimes when you die, you're like, huh, the hell was that? I don't know what I did wrong. I'm not sure how I just died there. And that's super frustrating. So Metamorph was
are really
out.
bad for that. Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. The thing that I don't like about Metamorph is that the transitions are really hard to see because it's that like blobby style of thing, and it's really hard to see in some of the darker maps. And then there's like all of a sudden a huge spawn of enemies, and then you're trying to see the tell from the big, Metamorph enemy, but you can't tell where they
Sometimes
are.
I don't even know where he is. Yeah.
Right. So, and then, Metamorph actually turns into a mini map game for me. So I can see where that icon is, but then I don't see what's actually dangerous. And then, of course, if they do that like Metamorph sludgy thing where you can't tell what's happening, and then there's like this big explosion after or something, like it's hard. So it's been a mechanic that I've never been able to. I like the concept of it, but I've never enjoyed the actual gameplay of it. But Arch Nemesis Last League was a Metamorph that I loved. And I explained how much I absolutely loved that the tells on these monsters were so much easier when there wasn't too many ads around, right? And if you cleared the area around your Arch Nemesis location and then did the fight, it was a really fun experience. It was hard. It was crazy. You built it yourself, but you could see the interaction with the enemy and what was happening and where it was going. And you got used to and you learned about new base types or existing base types of monsters, right? And so I absolutely love where they're going. It was too bad that the league was released as it was. But I really like the direction that it's going. And I think I mean, do you want to talk
Let's
more
talk about this
that,
week.
or
Let's do this week in PoE and then we'll jump into our weeks.
All right. Well, first thing that I wanted to shout out, it's almost like I saw maybe now I'm 3/4 of the way through that 4-hour wraeclast that Chris was just on.
Okay.
And I am so impressed with Chris. But you know what? I'm actually really impressed with all of them. I just love the dynamic that they have. I love that they're all on the same team, despite the fact that they have disagreements. Is that a word? Disagreements? Besides the fact that they disagree on certain things. But I am so impressed with how Chris, with all the criticism that he can get, with all the stuff, some subjects are repeated over and over because it's something that just the community really wants, or they want to know an update on, and he's repeating himself a lot. There's so many stuff that he wants to say that's coming down the pipeline that he can't, but he's always kind about it. He's never sarcastic about it. He never snaps or breaks. Chris, if you need to break, go for it. Like it's one of, like, I'm just so impressed with not just his character in the interviews, but also his ability to represent the company. Like if I was being interviewed, you would see some facial expressions on me when someone brings up something that, a choice that I've made that I don't like. You see some like defensive attitudes, some sound, you know what I mean? Like I would not ever be able to do what Chris does with the consistency and the kindness that he does it. But he even has the attitude in terms of representing his company where he's fine saying like, you know what, this is something that I would like to see improve. This is something that we have worked hard towards, or this is something that we do need to get better at. And he represents the company in such a really nice, humble way that even when you disagree with them, you can see where they're coming from. And I just want to really big kudos to him for that, because despite the fact that there was a lot of stuff that the community maybe blew up about from that wraeclast episode, he was just very, very good in it. And I totally see where they're coming from. And for example, one thing I think there might have been like the community might have taken a very selective part of what he said, but when he was talking about how some in-game information isn't their responsibility, I think it was really taken out of context, because he answered really well. Like he said, like he answered exactly the way who's someone who wants in-game information in that wraeclast episode. I want in-game information. The answer he gave is exactly what I wanted. I don't want strategy in there. I want information. Basic information, and he was totally on board with it, and it was good, despite the fact that we don't like why that information hasn't been in the game. The attitude going forward was amazing. So I was just overall, I've been so impressed with how well he deals with the community, especially in live circumstances.
I agree. I just, in that particular case where that conversation did come up, it was about stuff that didn't exist in the help, and he kind of got to that point after the conversation was leaned towards that it should be there. And then he was like, okay, so I understand that you would want to see this, but not, like, he did get it, and then he was good about it, but it's just that it's not there. That's all.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But I mean, I can't. It's always, yeah, let's check it out. And even sometimes when he's a stickler about something, it's always just very understanding and kind. And I would not ever be able to do that as consistently as he does it all. So big shout out to that. I hope he's encouraged. I hope he sees a lot of the encouragement in the community and not just all the criticisms. But in terms of this past couple weeks in PoE, I'm going to skip a lot, but there was some pretty sweet MTX stuff that just happened. A lot of it was just this week. But did you see the marauder?
Marauder. That came from the
goodness.
wraeclast. And I love that somebody in that team that quickly was like, all right, Chris said it. That's hilarious. They must have had an idea in their head for like a while. They're like, oh, I can do it now. Because that literally came from just a joke conversation in the wraeclast. It's hilarious. I'll never get it because I don't think you can. I think you have. It's just a chest one, or
it's only for the marauder,
right?
But it's.
I think it's a chest MTX too.
But it scales with strength.
Yeah, but it needs to scale. It should be maxing at like 500 strength. 1500 strength is not a real number. Nobody gets 1500 strength. Come on.
Nah, 500.
And that's
easy.
when you glow red and look amazing. But it is a really funny concept. It made me laugh.
And I don't know if...
Hold on. I want to tell you something. There was a joke about like other options, and I wish I could remember who tweeted it, but somebody said the Templar and the neck just gets longer.
Oh, yeah. You know what? What a fun way to like end it off, because I'm sure they'll have that character model fixed for PoE too. Maybe they'll keep it forever. I think that'd be awesome. Put some spots on it, like as a. Like
they don't get rid of MTX though, right? So it's got to stay forever.
That's right. Can you think of any support gems that have an MTX?
Some of the totem one does.
Oh, totem support, right? Yeah. Okay, because
that's new damage, though. That's new. That they didn't for a really long time. So, but yeah.
Custom damage taken has an MTX, which is pretty cool.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Did you see it? Does it look good? I didn't actually watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. The new hideout that they did the walkthrough of the two hideouts
from the support packs.
And yeah, did you? So did you watch? I didn't watch them because I have one of them. I just quickly glanced at the other one, the zombie type, like graveyard type one.
Okay.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Did you notice that they introduced something that you have been asking for literally since forever? Which is
it's in my notes.
The lights light up as you walk. Oh, is it? I'm not looking at your notes. Sorry. The lights light up as you walk towards them. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that's what Tyler wanted.
I know. Right.
The only thing I wish is you could change each individual one, because can you imagine like having like a Christmas themed graveyard? Like you got like blue, red, and green, and they're all like. Right. I think that'd be awesome.
That's right. No, it's pretty awesome. I was joking with myself throughout the week. I'm like, oh, they heard us, and so I'm pretending that they actually take notes for every episode, and they're just really delayed in implementing all of our amazing ideas. But no, I thought that was really cool. I've been wanting motion censored lights. This is really me being a goober. But when GGG first came out with their Jinx store and they were coming out with t-shirts, they put an announcement out, kind of like what they did recently. They're looking for suggestions for other cool MTX and support packs. They did the same thing when they started the Jinx store, like, hey, what kind of items would you be looking for? And I'm like, well, let me tell you, not only do I want a Path of Exile pen, I want some garden stuff, and I want a lamp that looks just like the ones in the Val Temple, but they only turn on when I come close.
Super realistic. Yeah.
I wanted it to be feasible in my garden. I want a Val Temple garden.
I mean, you could base them on sensors, right? So you could have it be like solar powered and censored. That makes sense.
I don't know why that's GGG. Not. Get a mouse pad. All right. Even though nobody uses them anymore, I want a pen and I want some nice fancy lanterns, motion censored.
I love that you want a pen. Do you want a pen that actually just says like Path, like an official, like Path of Exile, like you'd see in an office? Like,
yeah.
Because I think you could just go and make one.
No, I want it.
I'll sell you an official one for $25.
Official? Oh, I love it. It might
say Bic on the tip.
That's right. But that's just a typo.
That's right.
It came out with more zombie skins, which is nice. I'm not a fan. I like the more realistic style looking things, with the exception of the harmonious pack that I absolutely love in the Tigers. But this new zombie skin, I guess, like it's a minion pack.
It's a whole pack, yeah.
Yeah. But did you see the Polaric hideout? That was kind of neat.
That is so cool.
It is. I like the
That's so
alternate.
Cool. I love the spinning thing, like from the actual arena. You know what's going to be funny? They're going to come out with the Infinite Hunger version where you're just slow everywhere you walk. Like it's just full of sludge. And that's the next hideout. Like, well, we gave you one. Here's the next one. Granted, you can't move.
You have to get to that
you might
portal.
Die.
That's right. If you get to the portal, then you can use your waypoint and stash and all that kind of stuff. But every time you come in, you got to go through the sludge. Oh, man, that's hilarious.
I finished that boss and I will be selling every invitation here on forthwith. I will not be doing that fight again because you get it every 14th fight.
Don't you have to do that to get to the Eater of Worlds?
No, the 28th. So the 14th is him, and then the 28th map gets you.
So you don't have to do the hunger every time. You can sell it. Oh, okay. No. But you have to just do it the first time.
He also doesn't have an actual loot table. Like he just strictly doesn't drop anything. He's like, hey, here's some blue items from Act 1. Yeah, I killed him and I was like, that's weird. Nothing dropped. And then I hold down Alt and Ethan's playing beside me. I'm like, dude, look at what I got. It was like blue. There were like 6 blue items. That's all that dropped from him. I'm like, man, not doing it.
That's dumb.
Because it's not a fun fight either.
You got which support pack? How's your new hideout?
Time.
You got the one with the map device
or something?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. The one where you
but yeah, I guess you can change the time of day, and then it's got the little portals that take you around to different places. It's great. I took somebody. I was like, oh, somebody has a couple designs already on the Hideout website, Hideout Showcase or whatever it is. So I got one from there, and it's great.
Nice. Is there? There's no reset to default button, is there?
What do you mean?
Like, so you've changed that hideout. You can't set it back up to the way that it originally came, can you?
So what I don't know if they've ever introduced something like that. What I've always done is when I get into a hideout for the first time, I export the hideout and I save it. So I always have the original design of a hideout. I don't know why I did that. I did that a long time ago. But so, yeah, I could if I just imported
the really old times when you could even only have one hideout. Remember when you could only have one hideout? It didn't even let you switch between bases. Like you just had to abandon all that effort in your previous hideout.
Yep. So it is weird actually that they don't have a reset the hideout. But yeah, so I could if I pulled that in, but
because console can't import and export. So when you make a change, that's
just it. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I feel like that's probably an easy thing for them to eventually implement.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well,
it's fine.
I like it too.
Cool.
I got the same. Yep. I don't know if we got the same sport pack, but I got that one for sure. Okay. Mystery boxes / challenge rewards. Amazing. The mystery boxes have gone up $2, right? They used to be $3 a box. Now they're $5 a box. But look at what you get. It's amazing. They're all like these super cool interactive MTX, but also you can't get duplicates anymore. How amazing is that? Like now that you can't get dupes, I totally get the $2 increase in what, Justin?
Okay,
what?
So here's the thing. I agree with you.
What?
They're cool. The ideas in them are nice. I like that if you buy, like for the portals, for example, you can buy another one for the 50 points. You don't have to try and keep rolling for it. And I do like that you can't get duplicates. I just don't like that there's 5 versions of each of the items. So while you introduce the ability to not get duplicates, which is great, you also introduce the ability for me to now have like 4 or 5 versions of a boot. The same boot, just a different color to it. Or the same skin for a flask, but it's just a different color to it. So I 100% understand why they did that, because they were introducing the ability to not get duplicates. So that meant they needed more stuff for people to be able to get. But I do really like it. I love the fact that they're going away from the duplicated thing, but I just don't like that it's now, if I wanted to spend the money to get a bunch, I'm still having to fight through 4 or 5 versions of the same pair of boots or the same chest. You know what I mean? Like in the old versions, if they came out with an armor set, there was an armor set and then there was a combination of the armor set, right? Sure. But there weren't 3 versions of the same armor set. So while you've introduced the ability to not have duplicates, you've also introduced the ability for me now to have to purchase still just as many, or I don't know if it's just as many, but I have to buy a lot to try and actually get the version of that armor set you released now in the color that I want.
Oh, so I see. So it's harder to actually get a match because of the color variations. And
right. I do understand why they did that. You couldn't come out with a mystery box that only had 100 items, because then you could for sure just buy them all and you've got everything. I get why they had to like figure out a number that financially makes sense of how many versions of this to try and incorporate people buying more packs because I know that that's how they make their money. But I do love that there's no duplicates. There are some things you can get in there that are great. And I do like the fact that if I get a portal, I can go and buy that same, because the colored portals only work with each other, that I can just go buy another red portal for 50 points and whatever. So yeah, they're fun. I only bought 5 and then I was like, no, I don't want to do this because as soon as I got like a pair of boots that were a blue color, I was like, well, now what happens if I get legs that are red color? And it's just, I don't know. It's cool.
I guess that's kind of how, I mean, at least you can't get the same skin twice. So that's what you were saying.
Yeah. The challenges look cool. They're just insane.
Oh, and I love how
they'll be touching them.
No, they're just as grindy as before. They've never been for me. It's never been my thing though. I think I burnt out of achievements and challenges years ago. There was a game or two that my wife and I were playing. We used to be achievement freaks on the Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox, you were annoying.
And we'd 100% all the games we liked and loved. And then there was one game that we were just like, nope, we're done. That's it. And it just ruined achievements for me. Like I'll get an achievement now. I'm like, oh, just get out of my way. I'm trying to see. I'm racing. But one thing that was really funny to me was when I saw lots of comments throughout the community that they were kind of pissy that there wasn't any armor sets that they could buy with their support packs, like with the just the league specific support packs, right? Like it was Hideout stuff. It was interactive.
I love the change. I love that change. Me too. It's such a switch up.
And it was good because now the mystery boxes are different and you can get cool items there, but you can't even get duplicates. But then also they put the armor. I mean, they still let you get armor specific to the league per se, but now it's through challenges. So now you're getting these amazing armor packs for free.
Yeah, just plain. That's great.
As long as you can get it. And you can tailor how the end game works just so that it can be easier for you to get your 40/40 if you wanted to. But, and I'm now, for me, if I wanted to buy an armor set and I wanted to get it through the support pack, I can't because I'm not going to be getting 40/40. But to me, that it's an odd thing to complain about because if you wanted armor, okay, we'll buy the 600 point pack and then use 600 points to go buy one of the billion different types of armor they have in the game. So, or in the store. So I love what they did. I love that they gave amazing looking MTX for your challenges. It's not just a cheesy, like remember when it was wings are for this crazy feat and the portals for this crazy feat. Now you're getting like a huge amount of MTX with a whole bunch more checkpoints. And I love how it's organized. I love how it's a lot more. I can go into the challenge list and I know where to go to see if I've done something. If there was something I was working on, right?
Yeah.
You know, in the old system, I was like, well, I don't really know. And I had to open each one and I'm like, oh, that's where that is. No, still not doing it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it's a great change. I love it. I think BK brought it up a couple episodes ago that I didn't even think about, which is what you're talking about here, where it gives people a chance to get something for free with regards to the MTX that they could never get. You couldn't get armor sets without paying for it. You
normally have to spend the $60.
Yeah, so I do really like that. But I did go look at the challenge list, just curious. I was like, oh, what are these challenges? And I started. First off, you scroll for days. Like it's a long, right? Because they've introduced so many more challenges. But I was like, no, like literally the very first one that I don't even have finished was something about an act boss. And I'm like, I'm not going back to, I think I was using Apex Sentinel on an act boss, which I could do very easily. But I was like, no, I don't care.
At the end
that's
of
great.
The league,
I love that. I love that.
Short. Yeah. Another thing that I've been wanting for a very long time that they released this week or this league was a now playing section in the Hideout music player. The Hideout music player is one of the only things I've ever purchased full price from the store. And for the longest time, you could select what you wanted. And they even added new songs to it, after each league and things like that. But you could never tell what you had selected. And that was really hard.
If you selected the player, it wouldn't tell you?
No, yeah, that's right. Well, so let's say I'm playing the Shaper song. Okay, that one I'd probably recognize. But okay, oh, wow, I really like this. And let's say it was Act 3's encampment music. But 1 month later, I'm not going to remember that. I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, no, that's Act 3, Act 4. So for a long time, the music player didn't let you know after you'd selected a track what music was playing. So if you'd go back in and be like, okay, let's try something else, you wouldn't know what to switch back to if you didn't like it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So yeah, a now playing, quote unquote. But now that my watch keeps banging my desk, I'm trying to shift it around so that it's not going to bang, but my hand keeps hitting. Sorry. But no, now that they added the random music option, which is amazing, and it's always going to be on both Guild Hideout and my own hideouts. Now that they have the random music player, they have a now playing section there too, which is really cool.
That is cool. It'd be really cool too if they had like just like almost an overlapping HUD or something that you could have on your screen that also showed like a now playing or something, so that you wouldn't have to go to the player to just see it, because the music is so good. So being able to know like, oh, that's where I heard that from. I like that you have a random now, so I don't have to walk into your hideout and feel like I'm about to go into something epic.
Oh, when you walk into a hideout, it's epic. But
you come out of like this crazy hard map, it's been just super tough, and you just finally beat the boss. You're like, oh, all right, back to the hideout. And you go to Tyler's hideout, you're like, what the hell? It continues.
That's right. Yeah, let it be good. No, but I forget if it was someone on wraeclast like Raze, or if it was Ziz or who, but somebody said it would be cool to have the music player available to yourself as an option while you're gaming.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, and so that'd be
great for streamers too,
wouldn't it? Well, it'd be great for PoE because Camille makes some amazing stuff, and so it would just be extra stuff. And sure, it might not be relevant to the current situation you're in, but people are muting the music anyway.
He tweeted today some of his old EDM playlist and said, should I incorporate some of this into
Camille did? I haven't checked tweets today. Yeah, oh, that's funny. So funny. Cool. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. A lot of that MTX stuff and nice little tidbits that happened. Patches, lots of patches happened, of course, too. PlayStation was updated at the time Wednesday, and it all worked out. Xbox, there was a bit of a delay, but only by one day. There was a big hiccup there, but they got it out, and they got it out really fast. So that was a great job done by them. And so all consoles are up to date, and the consoles are up to the 0.3 hotfix, I think it is. But yeah. But man, there's some stuff that, and I absolutely love the changes that GGG is making to the rare monsters. Like, what do they have? They lowered the number of modifiers they have incrementally, right, as they get up there. Monster modifiers
4 instead of 5,
right? Monster modifiers have been reduced in general, like the power
3 instead
of them.
4, sorry.
Right. Yeah, but no, monster modifiers themselves have been reduced. And in general, rares do less damage and have less health. So like it was a big, and from a whole bunch of different aspects, they were cut down. Do you think that the community overreacted? Personally, for me, I don't think the community overreacted in terms of how the campaign was working with rares and those monster modifiers. I'm not in maps yet. So do you think that in terms, did you get to maps within the first day, or was it the second day after they'd already toned some stuff down? Because my question is going to be, did you think GGG acted too quickly with the map changes? Because I don't know, I'm not there. Or like how it impacts maps. And because it also seems like there's a lot of hardcore players out there that were successful day 1, and of course day 2, 3, and so on. So where do you, I think campaign was too hard, but I have no experience with what it was like endgame.
So I was in maps after they came out with the first one, which was the Rare and Magic Monster Rebalance. This was their first Chris post, and this came very, very quickly after we recorded last week. This post actually bothered me a little bit, and you and I talked about it. Like, I wish he would keep stuff out about saying, like, he said we tested it extensively. That irritated me, because no, I don't think you did, or you didn't from a player's perspective, or whatever. However, the courses of you testing it, anyone who had to play through that in Act 1 and Act 2 would have been like, we might need to make some adjustments here. So I was playing maps before they came out with Part 2 and Part 3, and I am very happy that they made the changes that they made. I like a challenge, but I don't want it to be. I don't want to be annoyed at the game, because I'll play another game. I do want a challenge, but I want it to be not just shitting on me for no good reason. And that's what it felt like when I first started getting, like, it was tough, man. Like, to try and progress through early maps was really hard in the beginning. You're already fighting to get your stats and your resist and everything set. And then you're also like, hey, here's a boatload of rare mobs who normally there were areas where I was skipping rares just to get to the boss. Yeah. Because I knew I wasn't going to be able to kill them. And I was like, well, I need to get the completion because I need to make sure I'm progressing. But if I try to fight them, I'm probably not going to kill them. And that's not really fun. That's not a fun way to be mapping. So I don't think it was an overreaction. I think there's always some, there's always outliers and things that are a little unfortunate and people go a little bit too far with stuff. I cannot stand, I will say this forever, and I don't care how much even I'm not happy with a league or a situation. I can't stand people that are like, I'll never play again and this is it and this is the death of GG. Just
bye.
Fuck off. I don't have the time for that. It's so frustrating. Like, if you don't want to play, then don't play. But why are you posting about it? Like, just don't play. If that's not your thing, then you don't give them your money and don't support them by playing the game. Like, that's fine. That's how you should treat your money and your time. I'm not a fan of like going out to try and convince other people that they also need to follow suit and like, let's lead an army and we're out of here. And I just don't like that stuff. So I think that the reaction was fair from the community. I think there is, like I said, there's outliers. There's people that, get a little bit too animated and too worked up about it. But I also think this was GGG's fault. Like, it wasn't properly tested, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong. I don't know what happens in the back end, but I don't play a ton. And I was able to go like, there's stuff here that just isn't working. And it's very frustrating. It's not fun. And you're taking the fun out. And I think we talked about it last week too. The goal is to get people to end game. That's where you make your money.
Yeah.
So make that part a little bit harder, but not the process of getting there. So I was fine with the changes.
Do you think sorry, my cat.
Tyler's cat just like Superman did across the screen.
It might be a hard question to answer because you're probably, well, I guess not, because you're only using your Sentinels once or twice a map, depending on the nodes you've selected. Do you find now that the rares and magic monsters are too easy? Do you think that they did too? You think that they're at a good place if you take Sentinel out, right? Because Sentinel's going to make them harder. Sure. So try and think of the times where you haven't used your Sentinel, and you have a combination of modifiers that are fine. They don't really mix well, so they're just like they kind of conflict with each other. Is that rare too easy? Think about a rare where it's like, I don't know, hasted and soul eater. Like, is that way too hard? Like, where's your balance?
But again, there's always going to be like some sort of an outlier to those situations. I would say if I don't use Sentinels right now, because Sentinel to me is a whole different discussion. It's the league mechanic and I fucking love it. It is so much fun. But if you took Sentinel out and I was just dealing with the rares in a map and I was going through it like normal, I would say it's almost on par for what it's always been with regards to fighting rares. The only thing is there are modifiers that break a build, and that I'm playing traps, so there's very few things that can like completely screw my build over. But there is stuff that is super frustrating. That whole effigy thing that is attacked. There are some times where I've killed myself and I didn't know why. I wasn't able to figure out what just happened because there's so much stuff happening on the ground. I don't like that stuff. I don't like stuff that makes it so you all of a sudden can't regen. I don't like stuff that says you can't leech off of this. That the stuff that comes out that makes the monster harder, I'm totally cool with. The thing that makes them do more damage to me and I have to just, manage and control that, I'm fine with. I hate the stuff that affects my build.
Right.
And says like, oh, you built this way, you're screwed. So I think Arch Nemesis is in a relatively good spot. I just think there's either modifiers that need to just go away or they need to be severely tuned so that you can't break builds. Like, you've already done it where a roll on a map can't be run by some builds. I have some maps players can't regen health and mana. I can't run that. So I don't run it. And I've chosen not to go into that map because I know I can't finish that map. It's the same with, there's lots of situations like that. You've already introduced one situation where you can brick a build. Don't do it in the middle of a map that I've rolled, I've corrupted, I've gotten like, oh, thank God I can do this one. And then all of a sudden you run into a mob that's just in there. It reminds me of like way back when there was no rolling of maps and you fire tornado shot or something off screen and you die because you hit a reflect by accident. Yeah. That's what it reminds me of. It's like, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And in fact, in this case, I actually tailored the map to make sure I could do it. But then you've introduced a monster that's like, no, you can't. Surprise. I don't like that stuff. But if I took out Sentinel, I think is in such a great spot because it is my own fault. And it is a huge risk reward because when you kill those monsters, especially if you build up like how you can build up some of these Sentinels to have like increased currency, increased delirium, like, and then you hit that pandemonium at a shrine, it is terrifying and I love it. I have to now think, how do I get out? How do I manage these monsters? So I think it's in a really great spot. I just think there's some modifiers that are either they're dumb, they just should go away, or they need to be like severely undertuned. Like, you can't make it so an enemy can't be leeched from. That's nonsense. There's builds that build around leech.
I mean, I agree with you. I've been preaching since the dawn of time that, in my opinion, nothing should be against the map modifiers, let alone random enemy modifiers, should impact the player. Every modifier should only impact the enemies and the enemies within the map. It should never impact us. We should be able to play our build that we've invested all this time and currency into. And now, of course, our Atlas. So, I mean, I've been saying that for forever, so I'm completely agree. It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. What other game out there can you think of where it's fun for the player when everything that they've worked towards all of a sudden doesn't work?
Yep. There's just some things that need to go away.
Yeah. From a gamer's perspective, that's not part of the FUN fun. But
I agree.
Yeah, but that's
I think monsters in general, though, are in a good spot. I don't want them to be harder than a map boss, but I want them to be challenging.
Yeah.
And I do think that they're kind of at a good point to me. I feel like it's not harder. It's not easier than previous leagues. There's just combos where you can be like, okay, this is a bit annoying, but
one thing to kind of coincide with a lot of the suggestions and feedback that they've had is they changed the hasted and arcane buffer monster modifiers. Do you know what arcane does? Because I don't. Anyway,
the arcane buffer, I do. I just can't think of it right now.
So the hasted and arcane buffer monster modifiers will now be first encountered, and I read in Act 6. And I'm like, oh, you know what? That's good. That's good. And then I reread it, and I'm like, oh no, it's level 6 monsters. So I'm like,
that made me laugh.
Right after breaking the eggs?
Very quick.
I think what needs to be in the tutorial section, you know how when you don't turn off tutorials, it tells you, this is how you allocate a node on your tree. This is how you add a support gem. They should have, if there's a monster you can't kill, this is how you reset an instance. That should be a part of it, because there's like haste.
I did that through the whole act, man. If Einhar showed up, I was like, nope,
that's
not doing it.
That's right.
He's fine now. His stuff is fine now, but it was awful in the beginning.
And here's another one. I'm glad it's changed, but this is one that, especially considering the changes that have been made in the past, needs to get tackled prior to launch. The invulnerable modifier has been replaced with the benevolent guardian modifier. Like, how many leagues ago was it? 4 leagues ago, when they got rid of like a monster that invulnerable, you had to kill that guy. They changed it so that it's a temporary buff. For some reason, they kept it on totems, the permanent one. But then when Arch Nemesis came, they had it as an invulnerable one again. It wasn't the benevolent.
Yeah, it's awful.
Then, again, they released it here. So anyway, I'm glad it finally changed. But that's an example of something that I'm like, okay, got to keep the mentality going. You got to keep it consistent, right?
You want to know one thing that surprised me that they haven't gotten rid of, that I still just scratch my head and go like, what the heck, is the Invulnerable Shrine. I still can't figure out what it is about that makes them think it's a good thing. When you hit that and you start attacking, your screen just explodes. Like, unless you're like, my computer thankfully is quite good, but even mine will go into a slideshow at points where I've got traps firing off and there's mobs firing at me and nothing's dying. It's not good. And then I have to try and figure out, like, how do I get in there?
That's right.
To touch that stupid shrine.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a big one. It drives me nuts. And for some reason, it has a really high roll chance. Every time I get the map modifier where you get, I don't know what it is, but it's like every single time I get area has a lot of totems, whatever kind of map modifier, it is like every second one. Yeah, it's so bad. Now, did you know, I just learned this because Sentinels can no longer empower piety in Act 3 in the crematorium.
Right.
Did you? But it's because she can't drop items.
She doesn't drop items because you don't kill her, right? She portals out before you kill her.
Oh, maybe it's like her belt falls off as she's running away.
Yeah, they could have added something, but yeah,
I don't care if technically I'm killing an enemy or not. I beat the thing. I did the boss thing.
Nah, you didn't beat her though.
That's
Piety actually never dies. She just lives forever. She's
too technical.
Always around.
I did a thing. I did it. I win. Look, I'm portaling. Like,
you win. You get Tolman's bracelet or whatever it is. Good for you.
Anyway, I didn't know that. I didn't know that there were certain thingy things and such. Now
it's a little weird though, because Piety in Act 6 or whatever it is, where she falls to the ground when you kill her, she does drop items. But she doesn't die. I think she drops items. I don't know. There's a lot of mobs around, but I'm pretty sure she does.
You win items.
I wonder if you can apex her.
I don't know. Whoa, hey, whoa, porno.
It's a whole day of that time.
Just Apex and this. So this has been the easiest league in the world, Justin, for my filter changes. I'm still doing my filters, and if people are still following the builds that I post, not the guides, the filters are still there. But it was the filter changes were so easy. So easy.
Sure.
I got to get rid of so many stuff. Yeah. And I already stacked. I kind of saw how I put all the Sentinels in a spreadsheet and saw prior to launch that there were 3 different ones, and they were all titled the same, from like rusted to bronze, platinum, onyx, whatever it was.
It's nice too, because some of them don't drop.
Right. And they were all in the same.
You can only get them crafted.
Order. That's
some
right.
of the bases only craft. Yeah.
Now, when you're making the filter, you still have to give those a drop icon, because you can.
Nah.
Well, once you've crafted it, you can still drop it.
That's your own fault.
Sure. But you want that to be like, wow, in your filter. So you're like, whoa, I gotta get that up. Because if you don't actually, for the stuff that technically doesn't drop, if you don't have that in your filter, it's just like you
lesson learned, Ty.
No,
lesson learned.
You don't learn a lesson that you didn't realize you did until 3 maps later. It's just, where is it? So you want that big pow. But anyway, easiest one. I staggered the Sentinels the way that it was, and there was just so because there wasn't like a lot of extra currency or anything. There was like 2 things, right? There was the Recombinator and just Sentinels.
There's versions of the Recombinator, right? Because there's 4 power cores and then 3 Recombinators.
And so just by judging what their titles were and looking at them, I staggered them, and it was the easiest one. I was able to do it. And so what else? So yeah, sweet. Chris's attitude on wraeclast. I'm always so impressed with them. Standard players. So remember I was talking about the Atlas passive tree? And I was nervous about.
Did you get a respec?
So here's the thing: I never got a response from it, which is fine. Like I always laugh when people are like, "Hey, I wrote this bug and I never got a response from you." But I thought it was a legit question. I couldn't find any responses from GGG anywhere, which is fine. But I'm thinking like, okay, I'm an idiot for pushing this subject, because guess what happens in standard? Every time you have an legacy maps and then you convert them, which oh my goodness, I loved watching the maps convert again. Oh, so awesome! You see the load bar going, and then I switch to the new tab that they make, and I see, oh no, you're not falling asleep, Justin. This is fantastic. And then I go to the new tab that they make, and I see just blah, 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 all that new stuff. Oh man, I just love that kind of cool stuff. But anyway, in standard, if you want to save yourself time because you've already completed the Atlas, you just take a T16, rare, corrupt, and complete it, and then you've completed the entire Atlas, and it remembers which unique maps you've done and which ones you haven't. Right, it doesn't just autocomplete unique maps; those ones it just remembers from your previous experience, and so it's really easy. But of course, because it's a new Atlas that I'm not doing, and I have to do that, like re-add it all. Of course, I'm getting a free respec every time. Like it's just a natural part of the progression because I'm not actually keeping the same Atlas. So I felt like an idiot when I saw that, and I looked into it. I'm like, of course, I haven't even done the Atlas yet. Of course, I'm going to get to respend all my points. So. Anyway, but I did write a bug report that GGG did respond to. You always feel, man, I feel super cool when that happens. It's such a nerdy thing, but it was a bug regarding how chat worked with controller support, and cool. It actually got a couple responses from people like me too, and then GGG actually said, yeah, we just put in a fix.
It was coming
next time you load the game, it's showing up, and I was like, aw.
Oh, was that your bug report?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Because I did see that.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't know it was your bug report, though.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, God, who's this whiny person?
I know, the controller this, controller that. So anyway, you've been enjoying your experience? You're doing traps. What kind of traps?
I'm playing with Exsanguinate and Seismic.
Exsanguinate. And that's your long term? That's what you're going with? Why are you doing 2?
Yeah, currently. Seismic's not great for clear. It's really good for bossing.
Oh, okay.
Sanguinate's awesome for clear.
Which one's 6 link? Or are you doing 2 6 links?
Seismic.
Okay.
Seismic. And it's I'm actually really having a blast. Seriously, the Sentinels they are so much fun. The amount of stuff you get from them, if you can like plan when to use them, and you gotta you can't just use any Sentinel. Like you could technically, I guess, just use any Sentinel, and then you'd probably see like meh effects from them.
Sure.
But if you actually focus on the Sentinels that have like specific reward types, and then you use them up, and then you try to merge them without merging, because you don't want to like merge two currencies together, because you'd be better off just merging them twice. And there's different base types that have different charges. I'm just finding that side of it, because that's a like pre-map experience for me. Like I have to go, okay, I've used this one up, so now it's time to start planning for my next one. How am I going to build it? What ones do I have? Which ones have good rewards? And they're so much fun, because it scares the crap out of me every time I use, especially a Pandemonium one, because that one does one burst. I can use it twice through a map, but one burst hits a bunch of guys and then you got to kill them. It's so much fun. And I've tailored my Atlas. My Atlas tree has changed a lot since what I thought it was going to be at the start of the league. And I'm actually debating pulling out of essences, because I find essences awful in red tier maps. They are terrifying. Like a 6 or 7 essence monster. No, that's not 6, not so bad. But 7 for sure. 8 is awful. They are the worst, man. They have like infinite health, and my build does a lot of damage to single target. Like bosses are awesome to fight. These freaking essence monsters are just insane. They are so strong. They're so fast. They do so much damage, and they just have health for days. So I'm debating pulling out of essences, because I'm not really needing them as much anymore. I'm not sure if I have a lot of essences at this point. I love shrines. This is the first league I played with going into shrines, and I ended up changing my Atlas to take almost all of the shrine nodes. God, they're fun, man. Because now when I click one shrine, I get 2. Each shrine gives me 2 effects. They last for a really long time, and they're always full of mobs, because you can increase how many mobs show up in them too. So when you combine that with the Pandemonium Sentinel,
good
it
combo.
is so much fun. And then so I've completed like the new bosses that came in, the pinnacle ones that came in last league. I've done, I don't even remember what they are. The fire one and what are they called? The great, like hunger, not infinite hunger. What's the end one called? I don't know. Whatever those new end game ones are, I've done them. I really, really like. Do you remember the one we did where it's got like you have to stand in those little purple things?
Yes.
At one stage. I love that fight. Now that I actually understand how that fight works, I know the audio cues for when he's going to do something. I moved my whole map around, my whole Atlas, to go into all of his stuff.
That's Eater of Worlds.
If I compare his fight to the fire one, Cyrenex Arc, I don't know if that's the first version or the second one. I hate that fight. The stupid like Mario balls, I can't do it. I literally cannot do it. Either you're too fast or you're too slow. There's no speed that is great. Either I'm too slow so a ball runs into me, or I'm too fast that I run into a ball. I just don't find that fight fun at all.
Do no movement speed. Just put 25% on your boots. No movement skill. You'll be fine. It's perfect.
I don't have a huge amount of movement speed, but like you can do a movement skill, but you can still, by the time you get to the second stage of that one, they're everywhere. It's just not enjoyable. The other one though, I really, really like the Eater of Worlds, because I know now his cues. I can understand where he's going to, where he's going to do his stuff. And so, yeah, I've done that, and I've done 2 of the Guardians so far for Shaper. So it is fun. I'm having a good time. I'm actually really, really enjoying it. I think they've made some good changes to make it a little bit more fun to play. I still hate some modifiers. There's some stuff that comes up that I'm just like, well, I'm probably going to die here because, it's too hard. But I love blocking stuff out. I've never seen an abyss, which is amazing. I have so many things blocked out. It's awesome. The only thing it does mean is there's a lot, like I see a delirium like every second or third map, which is good, except I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want them anymore. They're a bit annoying.
Well, did you know though that I saw this was from Heartland_GGG on Reddit. You can still force content through your maps like Scarabs and Kirak mods, including Fortune's Favors the Brave, even if you've blocked them out.
Right. If you pay for them. Yeah. No, I can't use Scarabs because I do have the modifier that doesn't allow you to use fragments.
Sure.
Like I took that Atlas Keystone. But yes, if you pay for them through
currency,
Kirak's modifiers, I guess. Yep.
So
which is good. Yeah. That would be pretty bad if it stopped it.
Yes.
But that's actually not a bad idea though, because then I could technically block Delirium
and then just do it whenever you
wanted to do it. Right. Just pay it for 16 chaos or whatever. I will say the amount of currency you get once you start playing the Sentinels, like actually paying attention to them and the roles that they have and when to use them, currency has been, I have lots lots and lots
Nice.
of currency, which is awesome.
Well,
and
I'm not
I
having a
got
strong
a
start,
ritual
so
that
I'll hit you up for some currency.
I had a ritual that actually had a good helmet with my seismic trap enchant on it.
Really?
Yes.
Very nice.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, it never happens.
So happy.
You always have to go out and get it. So it feels cool, hey?
I was like, well, maybe I could turn off ritual. No, I don't know what I can't get something better than that.
Nah.
It was like a 6x helmet.
Wow. Good for you.
6x. Yeah. How's your league play been going?
Well, I'm trying a new build, right? I'm not doing any of my
you switch?
guide build. No, sorry. I'm trying a new build that I'm used to. So I'm not doing my zombie build or my righteous fire build. I'm trying a new idea. And as you know, when you're a guide writer, you learn very quickly if your build is good for leveling or not. And so if I was still doing guide writing and I was hoping that this was going to be a good guide writing build or a good leveling build, it's not a good leveling build. All my damage comes late or through cluster jewels. And that was...
Or from Talon.
Or from Talon, yes, who helped me level. And so did Nikolai a bit. And thanks, Justin, for not. But no, Justin, you 5-linked a unique that I wanted, right? The Dying Breath, the one that increases curse efficiency and such. I really wanted to do curse efficiency.
I don't think I 5-linked it.
Oh, no, Thalon did. That's right. No, you got the unique for me, and Thalon used Harvest to 5-link it for me. And so that was really awesome. But it is one of those where zombies need notables to survive and to do damage. Zombies are weak like that, but there are some minions where just leveling them and putting the appropriate supports on them, you can level without having minion damage investment on the tree. SRS, to me, it's slow, but it's one of those where you can get by without actually having minion damage investment on it. And so, yeah, I'm doing Castwell channeling with SRS, and I'm making them poison. And at the beginning, it was quite tough, especially because I didn't have Castwell channeling until the middle or end of Act 4. Once I got that, things became a lot smoother, but that's also when the rares... And again, I was leveling through that process where the rares changed a few times. I started as a scion, and I'm going east first, and I'm going through all the deck stuff. And I was going that direction originally because... And I'm still considering switching to this, but doing Castwell channeling with Blade Vortex, with Poison and Summon Phantasm instead.
Weren't you already doing that?
Yeah, and I wanted to weapon swap,
Vortex.
but see, the thing with two-handed weapons in Path of Exile is there's no int dex two-handed weapon. So for me to want a lot of blue and green is tricky, and you can't really re-roll anything, right? You have to use that jeweler's crafting bench trick to try and get it.
Used it a lot this league.
Right, but once you have that 5-link, you can't change your mind. You're stuck with those colors, and then you got to get rid of it, and then you got to do it again. So it's not really feasible. So I'm still having to choose between each. But originally, because I was considering weapon swapping to go between SRS or Blade Vortex, I started going off on the dex side down there because Blade Vortex needs 155 dex. So just because it's a new build and I'm doing I like what the end result is going to be. I like where it's going, and I'm definitely progressing very easy now, but it did take some setup, and sometimes it's discouraging for me to be like, is this rare hard? Because like I'm on a 5-link in Act 8.
Do I just suck,
is it just bad at this stage, or is this just a crappy rare? Not crappy, sorry, a tough rare.
Tough.
And so we'll see once I get into maps. I do want to push through with this, and I want to see if the SRS idea works. And
where are you right now?
Only Act 8. We've had a very, very busy week. I think I've sat down to play Path of Exile twice since we hung out on Monday, and I think I got half an hour in each time. So let's see. So I do want to push through with the SRS version of the build, and then I think I'll respec someone on console and try the Blade Vortex version. I'm doing Scion for the sake of the defense that you can get, but there's a part of me that really wants to go to Occultist and do it. Because I love Poison, and I love stackable dots. And of course, in this game, that's with basic mechanics, that's only Poison. And and I love Curse efficiency. So that Ascendancy just makes perfect sense with the free Wither and the Curse resist, and the extra Curse efficiency and the extra Curse allotment. So that just makes a lot of sense. But I just love the scion. And she does her occultist thing, gives you 10% instead of the 30% or 25% of curse efficiency, along with that extra. Yes, you can apply an extra curse. And I love the endurance charges of the juggernaut. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'll have more time. Now the upstairs is going to be finished middle of next week with the extra deficiencies that were discovered, and I'll have a lot more time while the kids are at school. So I'm quite excited for that.
Sweet.
So yeah, it'll be nice to actually get there, but I'm still undecided, and which makes gearing difficult to start leveling gems and stuff like that. But the process is a lot smoother now for me, for sure. One thing that I'm absolutely loving, though, I too absolutely love Sentinel. I'm the kind of player where every time, because I'm in love with rare monsters and the difficult fights, every time I see a rare, it's easy for me to remember about my Sentinels. But even though I prefer what's the other one? The first one you get, the red one. What's that called?
Stalker.
I like the Stalker one because it just works for everybody all the time. I don't have to worry about groups. It lasts long enough that once I've killed.
What ones are you using right now?
Just Stalker and Apex. I'm not going to stick in Pandemonium. And I'm thinking of just getting rid of Stalker and just using the Apex one. Until, of course, all that is filled. Oh my goodness, the filament system, Justin.
So good.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing. I just when that was brought up in the wraeclast, Chris had kind of a hesitant comment where he's like, we're testing some stuff with this leak, right? We're not saying everything we're like. There was a couple different times, and that the filament part was one of them where he was like, we're testing things, right? So but man, the filament
it's super
system,
fun to be able to change that one at any point. I really like it,
and just the auto leveling of it. I love being able. This is what I want, so let's just get going. And he even explained how it prioritizes a little bit as well. Like it goes for dead ends first before it starts going through.
Always flows from the top down. Yeah. It's actually pretty cool too, because you cap out at 30. And so they've done a really good job of making it hard when you're at 30 to like, it'd be easy if you only wanted one. Honestly, 30 is way too many points if you only wanted one, but it makes it very hard if you pick two. 3 is impossible. I can't imagine why you would ever play with 3. You'd lose out on so much. But even with 2, there's choices you have to make that are pretty tough for like where you fill the tree in. It's fun.
Yeah. And I think one of my favorite things, because I am a slower player, so I get that the Sentinel has a duration and I'm fine with that. Or it has the, hey, I've done my allotment, so I'm done.
Yep.
So I'm fine with that. That's part of the strategy of it. And it's one button. So that's great. I think one of my favorite things about Sentinel is that the charge or the empowerment, whatever it is that they put on the enemy doesn't expire. That's really nice. Seriously is the best part. That's even more exciting to me than the filaments, though I really don't want filaments to disappear from the game. But the fact that as a slower player, I don't have to worry about my lack of damage so that I can actually kill it. Right. And you can still go back. To me, that is such a smart decision. I just absolutely love it.
You do lose the charges on the Sentinel if you die, but that's fine to me. I love the fact that what I've done to the mob doesn't, especially because if you use Pandemonium, it doesn't matter. You could die right away because that thing's done anyway. You at least get all your charges. So
have you noticed, because I haven't done a lot of playing around with it right now, have you noticed a difference in the modifiers that can roll on the Pandemonium Sentinel Sentinel, what's the red one?
Stalker.
Right. Between the 3, have you noticed that only one can roll certain mods? Because what's the difference then between one that only impacts rares and uniques versus the Stalker that will empower those enemies as well? Like, why would I?
So to be honest, I've never looked enough into Apex because I didn't like the idea of only doing 1 or 2. So I don't know exactly. The Stalker one to me is great because you just turn it on and forget it. So for me, I turn it on when I start the map. I know I'm going to use them all up because it lasts for as long as it does. And I think at the really high end, you can get like 120 charges on it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And it just does stuff as you go. And then Pandemonium is just one big shot. But I've not paid attention to the difference between how an Apex versus a Stalker works with regards to bosses.
There's got to be a reason that you would only want to buff a rare without the Stalker. There's got to be a good reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not looked enough into it. I never liked the idea of the Apex because I didn't like the empowers one or maybe two enemies. That I unless the maybe the I don't think they are though. Unless the rewards were like insanely amped up compared to those other ones.
Yeah.
Being able to buff 250 mobs in a map. No, even more than that, because if you can use pandemonium twice, so 350 mobs in a map versus 2.
Yeah.
Meh. Especially when you get these increases like 3 to 6% increase of currency and heist, and like there's the rewards are insane that you can get out of these sentinels. So it just seemed hard for me to justify being able to do it to 1 or 2 enemies.
Yeah. So yeah, I was curious about that because I do definitely only remember about my sentinels when I see a rare enemy, and then right away I'm like, oh, yellow, and then after I get the yellow, then I'll apply the other one because you can't have the empowerment from both, right? But I want to make sure that the other one. But there was a mod, I don't remember what it was, but I'm like, wow, they can roll that kind of stuff. And so I was like, it's pretty cool, some of the stuff that can roll. So I'm excited to get further.
And then you
with
can combine them, and it's so much fun.
I combined one. It was just like a rare with the magic, and it ended up being a rare with that one magic mod.
You have a 50-50 chance of each of those mods carrying over, which is why you have to kind of be careful with regards to like which ones you combine. And that to me is really fun because
but at the end of the day, they're garbage,
in the end,
right?
It's what do you mean?
Well, like if you're not combining them, you're ditching them, right? So it's
but you should. I mean,
something to do with your.
You can always combine them to hope you get like a better base, or I just find it really fun. I have like I bought, and actually I think it's this weekend that there's more sales. I'm buying more quad tabs just for Sentinel.
Wow, good for you.
Because I at first I was like, I'm not picking these up, but then when I started to realize the bases are different, the roles can be different, how you can combine them, that it's like my favorite thing now to pick up.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So
because I love that they let you do it when it's expired, right? When you've used up all the charges, not what you have to choose before. You know what I mean? Like I could picture an old version of GGG saying, okay, so you have these two. Do you want to use it up, or do you want to risk making it even better? You know what I mean?
Oh, like if it right. One, you had to be, that would be awful.
Well, right.
Yeah,
but they're all about the tough choices, and I've always liked tough choices, but I think without having experienced the other side of it, I think I like this way a lot better, where you get to experience it. Okay, this is what that's like. Okay, cool. I've used up my 12, whatever charges. All right, now I actually get to use this as scrap. Let's see how it works.
So, yeah, and you might get something good and you might not. I think that's super fun. Yeah. That's the real gambling. None of this.
That's right.
Well, because they got rid of the MTX ones, right? So now they had to come up with a new form of gambling. So this was it.
But yeah, that filament. Showing. Hey,
love it.
Bex, was it a tweet or was it a Reddit thingy? I think it was, I forget. Anyway, they're thinking of a system where the guild leader can do stuff with the support pack MTX that they had, right? Like the map device or the hideout. Did that ever come to fruition yet? I've not finished the campaign, but I can't find where I can change the guild hideout to my timekeeper hideout. And I can't find, now I don't have access to the map device yet. So I don't, but did you know if that was released or is that still talked about?
I thought it was already out.
Well, I'll look into it.
Finish the campaign.
Yeah. I was just curious because I mean, people can still use the guild hideout without me. So I was just curious.
Can you talk to Helena by Act 6 to change that?
Well, and I went to go change the guild hideout and the timekeeper one wasn't there.
7, sorry.
So I'm sure there's an option where it's like you can do something with your purchase, but I don't know. And I want to know if it's like...
I thought it was out when she said it. That's how I had read it, but maybe not.
And I want to know if it's like a permanent thing or do I have to choose only one MTX? Can I do the map device and the hideout? Like, well, you know.
Can you imagine if they're like, we give you one.
Yeah.
We give you one MTX. I take this tree.
Yeah, that's great. I like this tree. It doesn't change.
All right.
Hang on. One more thing.
What do you got?
And then you can finish. I love that they gave us a list of monster mod details.
Man, I talked about it. It was,
but they did it. They wrote it out.
They did it.
And then, and so thank you, GGG, for doing that. And then 2 seconds after they post it, some of those values changed because of an update. And so now you have to look at 2 sides, right? 2 screens. And that to me was just kind of one of the reasons where it's really important to have that information in game. Because then when you change it, you have the responsibility and the liability. And yes, it's the extra time, but that's also part of how you manage the game and changes is then you update that list or that modifier, whatever it is in the game. Because now within half a day of that post of here are the arch nemesis modifiers, you have an outdated wiki, right? Like the wiki is good for the bare basics. Or sorry,
does the wiki show pictures
of most of the time?
That's what I would like.
They do, but
of the monster with that modifier.
Yeah, but you can't search for it based on the icon. You have to know what that icon's called.
Right. But you could, in a lot of cases, you can at least mouse over them and see it. But
so to me, this was kind of a good example where the wiki's good for like min-maxing, for the crazy details that you want in a build and how interactions work. But the bare basics, that should be in game, especially because the amount of times that things change, patches, that kind of stuff. Bare basics need to be in the game, and then you don't have to worry about something being outdated, like monster mods, for example. Anyway, I'm absolutely loving this. I'm excited to tonight after dark. What time is it, man? We've been recording for almost 2 hours already. But
there's been a lot of breaks in between, so apologies.
Maybe
fine. You'll never know. That's
right. That's right. But it's almost noon, so I got to get the kids eating because they're watching TV and playing quietly.
You need to hurry up. I ordered my Quiznos on Skip the Dishes, so it's on its way. You need to get a map so we can play some maps together.
Well, I mean, after dark. Well, let's keep after dark super short, right, people? No, we'll have an awesome after dark tonight. I got lots of goodies to talk about, but after that, I'm getting the maps.
I'm saving my Johnny Walker Blue Label for when you guys come over on Sunday.
I'll just have a sip.
You get, it's a pinky.
Oh,
yeah, you can dip
everybody's got.
I'll put
I thought you were giving like a pinky depth in a rocks glass.
No. The pinky can tap the top of a glass with it, and that's what you can taste. So
okay,
seems fair.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah, wash your hands first, so it'll just taste like soap. And
right. Yeah. Wow, this is the worst money I've ever spent.
This is great. Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's wrap this up. Episode 137, Forever Exiled, the Path of Exile podcast. I'm Justin AK Tags.
Tyler Recker of Days, who loves Sentinel.
Thanks everybody for joining us for this episode. Patrons, we're going to catch you in After Dark. Everybody else will see you in episode 138 next week. If you're looking for more information, you can find it down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have a poppin' Discord. Poppin'. And if you're looking for ways to support the podcast as well as our Patreon, it's down below. Toodles.
If you know what I mean.